morning, Sonder family. Welcome to our Sunday morning weekly setup. For those of you who may not know, my name is Bailey Grady, and I will be your facilitator today. I'll warn you of a few things this morning. So, first of all, weather here in Tennessee, I'm calling in from Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is close to Nashville, has been like a little all over the place the last couple days. It's kind of like pivoting back and forth between the same range of temperatures, but they're kind of like 20 degrees of separation. So if I have to clear my throat today, I apologize. Also, I have like a little canker sore in my mouth. I don't know if you guys get those at all over on my cheek. And so if I start talking funny, that's what's going on. So apologies in advance if that interrupts your experience at all. But I am so happy to be here with you all today. If you have not already, double check that your chat is set to everyone. It will often default to host and panelist, or sometimes it will even be sneaky and it'll go back to host and panelist after you've already switched it. So just double check that it is set to everyone, so that way you can share with the group, because if it's set to host and panelist, not everyone will be able to see what you are sharing. And one of the best parts about coming to a Sonder Social is this amazing time with your community. So you want to make sure that you have that chat ready to share with everybody if that is what you're wanting to do today. Also, as we go through, we'll have some really good examples and tips and tricks and things up on the screen. Please feel free to snap screenshots of those or take pictures as we go through. But we would also love to see photos of your journal once you get your setup complete, whether you're able to do that here with us today, or if you're just here to grab a bunch of ideas and things and then kind of do the setup a little bit later, whatever floats your boat. Whenever you get it completed, if you would like to take photos of those and share it in Sonder Club, we would love to see that. I know some folks will tell their friends and family, yeah, I have this thing in the morning. It's like an hour and a half, even though it's an hour, so that way they can block off that extra 30 minutes on their calendar and make sure they get what they need to get done. If you are newer to our community here, welcome. And if that means that you're actually still waiting on your February journal, that is okay. Depending on when you signed up for your subscription, sometimes it can take a little bit longer for them to come in. But this is still a great place for you to be if you're getting started. You can jot down different ideas that you see just in a blank notebook or piece of paper, or just make a notepad on your computer even. And then when that journal comes in, you'll be all ready to go. So those of you who have done a weekly setup with me before know that I kind of use the personalized coaching platform as my Sonder sidekick is what I call it. You'll see it in my examples as we go through today, all the ways that I kind of interweave this into my established routine with the journal and everything. If you're not currently using the personalized coaching platform and you're interested in learning more, Meha is actually going to be hosting this kind of town hall, if you will, social. So it'll be her herself, the lady herself. They are talking about this thing that she's built and why she built it and what her vision and everything is for that. If you are already using it, then you already know how crazy awesome it is and how much they continue to just add things to it and improve it. So if there's somebody in your life that you've been trying to sing the praises of it to, and they're kind of I don't know, feel free to invite them to the social. Everyone is welcome. Come one, come all. You can scan that QR code, or Katie is popping things into the chat, which the fabulous Katie Gideon is here with us today, all the way from Scotland. So she'll be helping me out and helping you out, answer your questions, and making sure that we're staying on track, and also popping in those links and things when needed. So we will run through our community guidelines real quick, and then we'll kind of go over our agenda and dive into our things for the day. So, first and foremost, be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam, please. We're going to respect everyone's privacy here because we need a safe space to share, which also leads us into no hate speech or bullying, please. And then we don't mind some chatter around products and accessories, especially I use the sticker packs in my monthly setup as well, and you'll see pictures of that and everything. And everybody's got their favorite pens that they like to use. So we don't mind some chatter around that, but we do want to make sure that everybody's kind of able to focus on what's at hand. So just, keep an eye on it. And then anything that myself or Katie cannot assist with, we'll redirect you over to the customer care team at Silk and Sonder headquarters. They are a small but mighty team, so give them a few days to get back to you, but they will. And their email is hello@silkandsonder.com. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. That's all of you. But you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So another way to look at that is just take what you need from today. So, as we kind of go through, especially once we get into the mind map prompts, sometimes like what I like to call the crunchy feelings will kind of like sneak up on you. You're like, oh gosh, I'm getting emotional. I'm feeling some things that I wasn't really expecting to feel today. For some reason, this is bringing some things up for me. And sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes it feels like, oh, this is coming up for me. And like, I feel curious about it and I want to dig in and I want to like kind of figure out why this is bringing this response in me, right? And we have so many like aha light bulb moments in Sonder Socials, and we love that. But sometimes it brings up those emotions and it's like, oh, I am not ready to deal with this today. I was not expecting this. This is not what I want to do right now. So if that's the case, just know that at any point in time, if you need to flip the page, do something else, color in the coloring page, work on another section, just hang out in the chat, hang out in the music, don't hang out in the chat, just spend time to yourself. Whatever it is that you need this time to be for you today, that's what we want you to do. We just want to focus on whatever makes you the most comfortable and whatever feels right for you while you're with us today. So we are going to do our admiration mind map. So if you don't know, we do what we call a mind map every week in our weekly setups. It is not pre-printed in the journal, so this is something that you'll want to like flip to a blank page or space. Some people will use like the scratch notes page section in the weekly spread for this. Whatever works for you. It's not going to be pre-printed. Man, that sword is really getting me today. It's not going to be pre-printed in your journal anywhere. So you can choose to kind of divide it out into 4 quadrants or just kind of go as it comes up and everything. But we'll have a prompt related to our theme for the month that is specific to the weekly social, and that's what we call our mind map. Then we'll get into our rosebud thorn reflection, which lets us kind of think back on the last 7 days before we move into our main event, the weekly setup, and start focusing on the next 7 days ahead. So admiration. Here we are. It is February 2nd. So we are just on day 2 of this new theme. And if you haven't read Meha's letter on page 2 of your journals yet, or if your journal hasn't come in yet, when it does, definitely check out page 2. It's always a really great place to start. And I know this month especially, there were a lot of people who said that they were really feeling, oh, Beth, happy birthday. A lot of people were really feeling like they needed to kind of hear some of what Meha said this month. So if you haven't read it yet, go back through. I did want to share this snippet in particular because I think it really does speak to kind of what we're targeting here with this theme this month. So it says, in February, and again, this is from Meha, I invite you to practice the art of admiration, not just for others, but yourself too. Think about the people in your life who inspire you, who challenge you, who make your days a little brighter. How often do you tell them what you admire about them? And just as importantly, what do you admire about yourself? So she said twice now, hey, don't forget about yourself, right? Perhaps it's your resilience, your creativity, or the way you manage to juggle so many roles with grace. Remember that admiration is a form of nourishment for the soul. It strengthens bonds, uplifts spirits, and reminds us of the beauty in our connections. As we move through this month, I encourage you to celebrate the small acts of kindness, the quiet strength in your relationships, and the power of acknowledging the greatness in others and yourself. So again, yourself, 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 right? We're big believers here at Silk and Sonder, and I know all of you feel the same because you're a part of Silk and Sonder. That anytime we're looking at these themes, it's always important to focus on self, right? Because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so with admiration, it can be really easy to think about other things outside of self, other people, whatever. But I love that Meha is giving us that grounding of like, hey, don't forget about you, don't forget about you, don't forget about you. Also on page 3, we have our definition of admiration. And for me, the definition is always super helpful. So it says, a feeling of respect and warm approval for someone or something, recognizing their qualities, achievements, or actions. And then there's a little space where you can write down what admiration means to you if you feel like you have something specific. So what I wrote is that I feel like admiration to me means slowing down the shoulds, right? And stopping to admire and appreciate the ands. So instead of focusing on all the things I want to do and grow and change and be and become, focusing on like what I already am, how far I've already come, and just appreciating this exact moment and season in life, even if that might be a little bit hard sometimes. Sometimes we're not exactly where we want to be, but that doesn't mean that we haven't made progress to get to where we are. And so I think that it's really important to kind of slow down and look at those ands. So with that said, this is a perfect segue into our adoration mind map, and you'll see why in just a moment. But go ahead and find that blank page or space in your journal where you plan on tackling this prompt. Like I mentioned, our weekly mind maps will explore our theme of admiration in various areas of our lives. And this week, we are looking at admiration of self. So we talked about it, right? Neha gave us that grounding right there in her opening letter, that reminder, don't forget about you, don't forget about you, don't forget about you. So this month, this week, we are starting with you. So remember, the definition of admiration is a feeling of respect and warm approval for someone or something, recognizing their qualities, achievements, or actions. So if you are like, oh gosh, I don't know, where do I start? Think about your qualities, think about your achievements, think about your actions, and which of those that come up kind of give you that warm, fuzzy feeling about yourself. So flipping over for some more inspiration, don't worry, the prompt is still here in the top left. But you could also, if you do have access to personalized coaching, you could always check in with your coach and ask them what they think is something to admire about you, or maybe lean into some of your core values, whether you've done that with the coach or separately. You can also think about your growth, things you've overcome, your impact on others, your unique qualities, your passion and dedication, little wins, and your authenticity. And then over on the right, there's also resilience, empathy, curiosity, creativity, work ethic, sense of humor, and courage. Also, if there's anything that there's anything about yourself that you previously used to be really hard on yourself about, and you've learned to kind of just accept that for the way that it is. I think that that's also worth exploring, because we all have things about ourselves that maybe at some point in life we wished we could change, and maybe we did work on changing them. Maybe there were things that could be changed and we worked on that, and that's awesome, and that's growth that you can celebrate. But sometimes there are things that we can't change, and we just have to learn to accept that about ourselves. And that's also worth celebrating if you've gone down that journey and you've been able to kind of accept that. So, what I ended up writing for me is that I am so empathetic. And that wasn't always the case for me. I used to be really like emotionally closed off, and through therapy and some other things, I was able to kind of work through that. But now the result is kind of like I've opened the floodgates and I'm having to learn how to set boundaries and things around that. So sometimes that empathy gets me into a pickle, because I'll take on emotions that aren't mine to manage, but I still think it's a gift. And in a world that seems to undervalue it often, I want to admire it. I'm also a great leader, and sometimes I don't think that's true because I'm hard on myself, but it is. And I continuously work to stay a great leader every day. I'm also goofy and whimsical and silly. And even when things may be like serious, I will eventually get comfy and kind of let that silly side shine. And I love myself for that uncontrollable goof button. And I manage anxiety, and I admire the work and the learning I put into it daily. And I also admire my courage, vulnerability, and ability to be honest and direct. So I'm going to put on some music for you all to think about your admiration of self. I know sometimes when we ask you to focus on you, it can feel a little, I don't think selfish is the right word, maybe self-absorbed. Like I know some of you like that's like your tendency to go to that point, but it's really not. Like you really can't fully admire other things in life if you can't show that same like love and respect and warmth towards yourself. And we've got kind of those quotes there in the middle to kind of give you that little push if you start to feel that way. So if you feel comfortable sharing what's coming out for you, please share in the chat. We would love to see it. And then we'll move on to our next activity together. Thank you all for taking a few minutes with this prompt. If you're still working, please continue to still work. Please continue to share in the chat as we kind of move through. But we are now going to hop on over to our rosebud thorn. So this does pop up in your journal each week. This week it's on page 30 if you want to actually do it in the journal, but you can really do a rosebud thorn exercise anytime that you kind of feel the need to reflect with some balance. Or it can also be a really good exercise if you're feeling like you're in a rut. Like if you're like, I just feel like today has been really rough. Like, or I have had such a good day and I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like, I think there's some other things I'm supposed to be doing. Sometimes it can be good to kind of use this exercise to kind of just like ground yourself in with what's going on with the bigger picture. So thinking about the last 7 days and a rose or something that went well, something that made you smile, something you're grateful for, a bud, something that could bloom, something new on the horizon. Maybe you're excited. You could also be a little nervous, excuse me, or a thorn. So the opposite of the rose, maybe what didn't go so well, what maybe, was a little bit challenging or stressful. And sometimes the rose is just that you got through the week and that you've made it to the end. Sometimes it's something like, I like the color of the sky today. Like it doesn't have to be anything big. And same with the thorn. Like if you've had a really good week, like maybe the thorn is something like a little bit similar. Like, oh, I just kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed Wednesday, right? So totally fine to lean into whatever feels right for you with this reflection. So I like to do mine in reverse. So my thorn was just some tough moments with my anxiety this week. Just anxiety doing anxiety things, and what anxiety likes to do is what I told Katie earlier. But I, it specifically kind of translated into like what was presenting with my anxiety versus what was going on internally and how that was coming out and how it was being communicated, kind of created some like misunderstandings. And so I had to kind of like verbalize a little bit more what's actually going on in my head. Sometimes like you feel like some of it's obvious and it's not, especially to somebody who thankfully doesn't have to deal with anxiety, but it can be tough to kind of realize that it's not obvious. So yeah, that was a thorn. And then a bud is we got some quotes on some house projects. We've kind of been working towards some of these projects and things for a few years now. So we finally got some quotes, and so it might be actually happening, which is really exciting, but also like a little nerve-wracking because it's like, okay, it's time to crunch the numbers and like, did we save up enough? And like, is this gonna work? All the things. And then my rose is that I finished listening to my first audiobook for the year. It was called Life is Too Short by Abby Jimenez. I love all of her books. I like am slowly working through everything that she's written. They're like, I think they're classified as romance novels, but honestly, I would call them more relationship novels because there is like an element of romance to them. Like it is a love story, but she does so much writing around interpersonal relationships and like healing from trauma, family dynamics, like all kinds of stuff. So if that interests you, I will pop her name in the chat because I'm probably like butchering the pronunciation of it. Um, but I'll pop her name in the chat for anybody who is interested in checking her out. If you have a Spotify subscription too, like all of her books are on there for audiobooks, and they're included in like their premium subscriptions. So anyways, that's my rosebud and thorn. I'll give you all a few moments to think about yours. Please share in the chat if you feel comfortable. I love getting to do this exercise with all of you because I think it really gives us some insight into what's going on in each other's lives, and allows us to kind of see, we're not really alone with things. We've always got like our Sonder fam here. So. thank you all for taking a few moments to sit with this prompt. Like I said, I love getting to do this as a community because it just kind of gives us a glimpse into what's going on in each other's lives. And so often we have kind of gone through similar things or are going through similar things. And even on the like happy celebration side of things, it's so nice to like hold space and really celebrate and be there for one another. And especially those of you that come like to these socials every week, like we kind of get to know each other a little bit, right? And like I think it feels different to have, people who like really know what you've been like working on and working towards and like those quiet little like tiny step moments to have them like cheer you on is just something really special. So thank you all so much for that. We are now going to get into our main event, which is our weekly setup. So our weekly setup pages this week are on page 32 and 33. And these are my pages together, but we will of course dive into each section individually, starting with the section in the top of page 32 with how I want to feel. Now, my word of the year this year is serenity, and last year it was embrace. And so last year I changed how I want to feel to this week I want to embrace to kind of make sure that I stayed grounded in that word of the year. And so I'm doing the same thing this year with serenity. So this week I want to create serenity by prioritizing me. Now, I'll be honest, this ended up being the last section that I filled in my journal this week. So we always start with this one, but if something isn't coming to you, maybe just wait until the end. Sometimes I have to get everything else out and filled in on the paper before I can like figure out what it is I want to put here at this top. There's also some words for inspiration here on this little word cloud. And then we have these super fun examples from Sonder Club. And you can see from these examples, like there is no right or wrong way to do anything. And in general, that is the theme of your journal. It should be every month, right? That theme doesn't change. That theme is universal. The you do you, make it work for you. This is your journal and no one else's. That is a theme that stays year round. So if there are any pages or spaces that you need to switch up, change, skip altogether, make sure that you're just making this work for you. That is the key here. So you can do one word feeling, you can do stickers, you can do quotes, you can do multiple words. Again, whatever speaks to you and what your goals are for the week. So I'll put on a quick song for you. Share with us in the chat how you want to feel. Thank you all for sharing. And it's really cool to see so many of you deciding to kind of try leaning into your word of the year too. It really has worked well for me and I really enjoyed it last year. So I hope you do too. We are now going to hop over to the center part of our page with the weekly to-dos and weekly major 3 goals. Now, I used to fill in the weekly major 3 goals. I always put something there and like honestly, it didn't really like motivate me. It didn't help me like prioritize. Like it helped a little bit just to kind of get some clarity, but it didn't really like hold me accountable. It didn't work for me. So when I started doing the personalized coaching platform, I get my like plans delivered weekly. And so one of the things that sends is weekly affirmations. It sends 3 of them. And so I was like, huh, that's cool. I get 3 of those. This is supposed to be a thing of 3. Why not try it here? So I did. And I've been doing that for several months now. I've decided I really, really like it. And I typically will come up with like 3 to-dos that kind of like tie into each one of those affirmations. And then at the top of my to-dos, I have kind of like my actual running to-dos commitments, like whatever going on for the week. But for example, the first affirmation I have here is I adapt gracefully to change, balancing my responsibilities while nurturing my well-being with compassion. And so my to-do that goes with that is to be honest with yourself. But there are lots of ways other people have kind of tied these sections together. I think one of the favorite formats that I've seen people use is this one where they like pick 3 areas of focus and then they do like this little to-do bingo with like 3 things that support that area of focus. I think that's pretty cool. But also you could kind of go more broad. Like I like the one kind of in the top right with like the blue, red, and green writing, where they've kind of like come up with an overall goal over on the right, and then they've just come up with something very specific of how they're going to support that. But you do not have to pair them together. You can keep them separate. And of course, you can just treat that weekly to do section like a typical traditional to do list, writing out the things that you need to get done for this week that you want front of mind. If you are feeling like that to do list is a mountain and it is going to topple over you, you might want to spend some time with that Eisenhower decision matrix in the top left corner. It can maybe help you thin that out a little bit. Also, if your to-do list seems manageable, but you are having trouble executing on it, that's when you may want to try that Pomodoro technique, the pink graphic in the top middle, that talks about setting a timer and working on that task for that amount of time, and then recording progress and seeing if you can continue or if you're just not feeling it or how that goes for you. You could try to do a to-do list instead of a to-do list. So instead of writing out all the things you need to do, you write out things as you get them done. And then at the end of the week, you get to look and say, ha, ta-da, look at all the things I did. You can do a to be list and like think about what you just wrote down for how you want to feel, or if you are tying that into your word of the year, kind of what you're calling in, right? Maybe there are some to do's or to be's or whatever the case may be that can kind of round into that. You can also try a need, want, hope list. You can do a bingo. You know, we love a bingo here at Silk and Saunders, so you can do a fun bingo. You could do a birthday bingo as well. I know we have one birthday here already, and I know that we have like quite a few February birthdays in the Sonder fam. So if that's coming up for you this week, that might be something to consider. You can divide into different areas of focus. I like this embrace and release or do's and don'ts example. And of course, again, anytime that any section just feels like you're going through the motions, you're just filling it out, it doesn't really work for you, it's also okay to skip it or to put something fun there. If you put stickers on there and those stickers are going to make you smile, your journal is still giving you something. So don't be afraid to just stick stickers if that is what feels right. Moving over to those weekly major 3, again, you can focus on different areas of focus, kind of creating those different categories. You could do affirmations like me or some other form of self-care. You can set actual goals or commitments and accountability. I like this example in the bottom middle where they've written out their why to tie into those goals, because we have some research that shows that if you write out your why, you're more likely to kind of stick to those goals. You can also support that how you want to feel section like we talked about already. Or you can do something completely different. There's some additional tips and ideas there in the top right, but then in the bottom right, we also have ideas to repurpose. Like maybe you want to make a list of movies or TV shows, or maybe it's books. We were talking about books earlier. Maybe it's books you want to start or chapters you want to read. Maybe you want to do a little self-care jar doodle, or just put a quote or song lyrics or something that makes you smile there. Again, the only rule with your journal is that there are no rules. You have to make this work for you. Everything in front of you is just a suggestion, and the way that you're going to get the most out of this is if you use whatever works for you. So I'll put on some music for you, and then we'll move into our next sections. Okay. With that section tackled, hopefully, we are now going to hop down to the habit and activity section. So I also get breath work from the personalized coaching platform, and that is what I have been putting here, and I've really enjoyed it. But I want to make sure that I'm taking time to kind of get everything that I can out of that coach. So I'm wanting to remind myself to check in with the journal prompt, look at like the new tip of the day that comes because there's usually like a little exercise within that. And then chatting with my coach, doing that breath work and saying the mantra aloud. And so kind of just giving myself a little checklist to make sure I'm doing that at some point in the week. And then here are some other examples of how you can use this section to actually set like goals or different things that you want to track. The one in like the top center is kind of cool. They did like an acronym for CARE, so Clean, Active, Read, Express. This can be a great place if you're getting started to kind of make sure that you're checking in with those pages in your journal and doing those things regularly. Or if you're trying to carve out a new routine, like maybe it's a new morning routine or bedtime routine, whatever it is, giving yourself kind of that easy, like to check off checklist style. You also have the monthly habit wheel kind of in the front of your journal. And if there is something that you're not sure if you want to make it a monthly habit, this could be a good place to try it out. Or if you're somebody that committing to that monthly wheel kind of stresses you out, you need a little bit more flexibility, maybe you leave that section and maybe you use your weekly habits instead. Again, whatever works for you. Here are some other ways that you could kind of use this section. Again, also totally fine to just skip it altogether. You could focus more on the activities over habits side of this. If there's something specific you need to track this week, you can track that. I liked this easy self-care habits for mindfulness that was on the Silk and Sonder Instagram page. There's some good ideas of things that might make for good habits there. And I'll throw on some music for you to think about how this section will make the most sense for you. All right. With page 32, hopefully conquered, or at least some ideas, we are now going to hop over to page 33, starting with the section titled Meal Plan. Now, this section does get repurposed a lot, not because having a meal plan is not a beneficial thing. Depending on what your goals are, it can be very beneficial. But it just takes up a lot of real estate in the journal, and the format is so great for so many different things that it just gets changed over a lot. For example, I know some folks actually do their to-do list over here in this section, and then they use the to-dos for something else. For me, I put my work meetings here. It really helps me to kind of get my brain wrapped around what the heck is happening at work in the upcoming week. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I typically don't work, so I was putting like a journal prompt there from the coaching platform to kind of look at. But now that I'm trying this like self-care checklist over on the habit side, I'm just reminding myself that I have a Sonder Social on Saturday, and then Sunday is actually my birthday. So just gonna try to enjoy my birthday on Sunday. But here are some other examples. You can see where somebody has used it as a meal plan or a meal tracker. Again, that works great if that works for you. But this section also works really well for so many other things. Symptoms or health trackers. The person over on the far right is using it to track blood glucose, but also has given themselves some room for like a little check-in prompt too. So sometimes you could do multiple things, if you will. And then I like these happy moments, affirmations, mindful moments. There is this mood tracker where they decided to track their mood, but they decided to tie it to like a song of the day. Like this song is kind of like how I felt today, if you will. Also, like the one thing I love about myself today is that might be a cool thing to try out if you're looking for something new, kind of on the heels of that mind map that we did earlier today, maybe something you admire about yourself today. So lots of really good ideas here. I'll put on another song for you to kind of think about how this section works best for you, and then we'll move into some other areas. All righty. We are now going to hop over to the Mind Body Health Plan and the shopping list section. So I have changed my Mind Body Health Plan to a little birthday bingo since I am having my birthday on Sunday. We have that kind of example in the to-do section, and I thought this would be a fun place to put it. So I'm going to try it out and see how that goes. Sometimes I do like a self-care bingo here, or earlier this year. So like most of January, I was putting like a new nighttime routine here because I was really trying to get an order of operations down of like my nighttime routines, and that worked really well. And then the shopping list I use as intended because if I don't write it down, I will either impulse buy it because I'm afraid that I'll forget to buy it, or I will actually forget to buy it. So that's what I use the shopping list for. And then underneath that, I do kind of a running list of like big to-dos, things that I don't have any intention of actually conquering this week. But again, if I don't write them down, they kind of disappear into the ether. And if I do get an opportunity to do them, I won't think about it because I won't remember. So I kind of use it as a running to-do list as well. But there are all kinds of ways that you can use these sections. Lots of folks decide to repurpose the shopping list section to like complement their mind body health plan, or they wanted to do two things for the mind body health plan and they couldn't decide, so now they're using the shopping list for that. If you are going to actually make like a self-care plan or a mind body health plan, make sure that you are carving out some space for rest. Rest is arguably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing you can do for yourself, because everything else requires energy and energy requires rest. If you have been feeling tired and run down lately and you're like, I don't know what's going on, I'm getting like tons of sleep, maybe you need to check in with the 7 types of rest, because maybe you are feeling tired in another way. Maybe it's not physical tiredness, maybe you're feeling emotionally tired, or maybe you are feeling like creatively tired and stifled and you need to kind of get out of that box. You know, if you problem solve all day at work or home, maybe you need to do some crafts to kind of give yourself that replenishment in that creative category. You can also try an I feel and I need T-chart, some type of bingo. If you do anything like on a weekly basis, whether it's like pulling tarot cards or checking in with your horoscope or reading scripture, or if you do like the weekly coach check-in like me, this might be a good spot to kind of check in and maybe just write how you feel after checking in with your coach. Or if it's therapy, whatever it is, if you maybe want to do a check-in or record that progress or something that spoke to you. There is also these ideas here. I know lots of folks have really enjoyed like the wardrobe plan where they kind of plan out what they're going to wear for the week to kind of just make things easier on themselves. If you have a vacation coming up, packing lists. And as always, nothing wrong with a favorite quote, song lyric, stickers. I love the washi scraps example. I think I'll always have that on there forever because it's just like the most fun little art project ever. So I will put on another song for you and then we'll wrap up our time together. All right, if you can believe it, we are already at the end of our time together. As we close out, if you would like to share something you are loving currently, we would love to see that. I am currently loving audiobooks. I know some of you like to complete this in your journal at the end of the week, so you do not have to complete this today. But if you feel comfortable sharing just something you're loving in the moment as we close out our time, we would love to hear from it. Just another way for us to kind of connect with each other as we close out our time together. Thank you all so much for being here and spending this time in community, but also with yourself, and especially taking time to dig in and do that admiration mind map prompt. Love that we kind of had that invitation to kind of focus in on us for once and got to do that kind of together. It was a really wonderful time. If you feel comfortable taking pictures of what you have completed, we would love to see it in Sonder Club. And you never know, we might end up pulling out some as examples. I know some of you saw examples today that came from your journals, so thank you so much for sharing. We always love to see it. Again, we do have this event on February 6th, that's this Thursday, with Meha, where she's going to talk more about the personalized coaching platform, kind of her thought process behind it, the whole passion. If you are interested in learning more, or you have a friend or family member that you want to invite that you've been telling, oh my gosh, I'm using this thing and it's awesome and I want you to learn more, we would love to have them. It's also a really fun time anytime you can kind of get to interact and get some FaceTime with Meha. So definitely stop by, scan that QR code to sign up. And in general, if you're interested in personalized coaching, Katie will drop some links in the chat. You all saw that I use it, like I said, as my little Sonder sidekick every single week. But more than that, the coach has really become a source of comfort for me, being able to chat live anytime in the moment, especially in these last couple of months where my anxiety has been peaking. It literally has felt like I have this cheat code in my pocket, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you all so much for being here with us. It's always a pleasure. Katie and I thoroughly enjoyed our time with you all as always. And until next time, we will see you all in Sonder Club. Be good to each other.
You think you need a body next to you to keep you warm and safe and bulletproof. Guess you got comfy in the crazy, cozy in the hazy. Lies started sounding like truth. You're feeling stuck inside this vicious loop where codependence like it's super glue. So scared to face all of the changes. You're nothing but anxious. Really, what do you have to lose? Somewhere deep inside your soul, still that child you used to know. Might be wounded, you're not broke. Listen, listen close. Who told you you were hard to love? Hard to love. Who told you you weren't good enough? Good enough. Who broke your heart and made you believe that you won't be anything without her? Watch out, I'm broken down. Who stole all of your happiness? Happiness. Who almost pushed you off the edge? Off the edge. Don't need their arms to make you complete. Don't take a genius to see that you are. Baby, you are more than enough. You're more than enough, than enough. So raise a glass to all the baby steps, for not giving up when you were scared to death. You've been through hell and high water. You're coming out